I've never seen a ball hit this far. Live.
Schilt was yelling in his direction. And now a little shove from Roberts of Schilt.
The month of June has been one of the best months of baseball in a long time. Cal Raleigh has made history. The Boston Red Sox made one of the most polarizing trades in MLB history. One of the best rookies in the National League is out for the season, and the trade deadline is right around the corner. Oh yeah, and there's a 23-year-old rookie who can throw a 103-mile-an-hour fastball and a 97-mile-an-hour slider. While that's certainly insane, what's even more crazy is how the best team in all of baseball came out of nowhere. But before we get into the content, if you've been enjoying the videos I put out, please leave a like and subscribe. I do this full time, and your support on the channel really helps me to be able to continue to put out consistent content. Now that that's out of the way, let's dive right into it. To start off the monthly recap of June, it's time to talk about the team that has been #1 in the Uni Diamond Talk Power Rankings since the beginning of the season, and that is the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers are by far the biggest underdog in Major League Baseball. Sure, they currently have the best record in the American League and are the fastest team to 50 wins, but let's just take a look at their payroll. This season, they rank 18th in payroll and are paying their entire roster $144.8 million. Keep one thing in mind, this is still $40 million less than the contract the Dodgers gave Blake Snell in the offseason. The Tigers might not be underdogs anymore, but they definitely were coming into the season. I could use this time to talk about Tarek Skubal, one of, if not the best pitcher in the American League, but instead I'll use this time to highlight journeyman Zach McKinstry, who bounced around early in his career before finding a home in Detroit the last few seasons. McKinstry currently leads all AL players in triples with 8 and is putting up 2.2 WAR, which would be the most in his career by a wide margin. Next on the power rankings will be the Los Angeles Dodgers, and although I just made fun of them for spending a ton of money, it's been backfiring. The Dodgers have been battling tons of injuries on the bump. Roki Sasaki, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Tony Gonsolin are either all on the IL or out for the season. However, LA has weathered the storm, and with sheer star power, this team has become a juggernaut. We all know about the bats: Shohei, Freddie, Mookie, Teoscar, Will Smith, the list goes on and on. But I want to take this time to talk about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto was hyped up to be the best pitcher in all of baseball last year, and ended up posting a 3.0 ERA in 90 innings pitched. These numbers are actually solid, but when Yamamoto was as hyped up as he was, people were expecting a little more. But in 2025, Yamamoto now has an ERA of 2.61 through nearly the same amount of innings. Injuries seem like a common theme for the Dodgers, but if Yamamoto and the rest of the pitching staff can stay healthy, expect the Dodgers to make a similar 2024 playoff run. Third up in the power rankings are the red-hot Philadelphia Phillies. Early in June, things were looking down for Philly. To start June, the Phillies went on a 1-for-6 skid, and to top it all off, the face of the franchise, Bryce Harper, got hurt and had to miss the entire month. But guess what? The Phillies didn't care. From June 11th to June 27th, the Phillies went 10-5. But what was the best part? That is that Alec Boehm is no longer the worst hitter in all of Major League Baseball. Just kidding. While that certainly is a good part, the best part of June for the Phillies has to be Trey Turner, who's having a monster month. In June, Turner is hitting over 300 with an OPS over 900, and in just 24 games, already has 14 extra base hits. I also have to take this time to acknowledge Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, and Christopher Sanchez, who all have ERAs in the mid-2s. If the Phillies keep playing like this when Harper gets back, teams should be afraid. Fourth in the power rankings is going to have to be the Chicago Cubs. Trust me, I want to take this entire Cubs segment and just talk about Pete Crow Armstrong, because how could I not? But instead, I'm going to hold back and tell you about some underrated aspects of the Cubs. First, how about Seiya Suzuki? Suzuki is quietly leading the National League in RBIs with 67 and is also tied for most home runs on the Cubs with 21. Or what about Kyle Tucker, the man who will ink a contract worth at least $300 million in free agency? Tucker leads the entire Cubs team in OPS plus and is also rocking 36 extra base hits. Keep in mind, we aren't even at the All-Star break. On the bump, I thought this team would suffer without Justin Steele, but Matthew Boyd has been holding it down. Boyd currently has a 2.6 ERA and honestly might have been the only good starting pitcher in the rotation while Shota Imanaga was hurt. Coming in at 5th on the power rankings, I'm going to have to pick the San Francisco Giants. I know this pick is going to cause some conflict since the Padres are technically ahead of them in the division, but after June, I seriously think the Giants have a chance to win the NL West. Matt Chapman might be on the NL, but he leads the team in B-WAR. And not only that, Heliot Ramos has confirmed that last season's breakout is the real him. Ramos leads the Giants in home runs, slugging, and OPS. That all goes without mentioning Logan Webb on the bump, who has been phenomenal with a 2.52 ERA through an NL leading 107 innings pitched. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention they also traded for a guy named Rafael Devers, some dude from Boston who absolutely mashes home runs. In all seriousness, Rafi Devers is the piece I think the Giants have been missing. The Giants haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds. If Rafi can provide that offensive power, then I have no doubt San Fran will give the Dodgers trouble. 6th on the power rankings are the New York Mets. And trust me, my apology is going to be as loud as my criticism. The Mets had a fantastic month in June. And not only are they still atop the NL East division, if they didn't have a skid in the middle of the month, they might be up a few more games. But I wanted to take this time to apologize to Juan Soto. In case you didn't know, last month's recap, I slammed the Mets and Juan Soto specifically pretty hard. In fact, there's even a video on this channel slamming Soto for his May slump. But now in June, Soto is having the best month ever by a New York Met. Soto is hitting 329, his OBP is nearly 500, and his OPS is nearly 1300. When I say this is the best month ever by a Met, I'm not even joking. Look at this baseball reference graphic showing the fact that Soto's OPS is going to end up being the highest single month OPS by a Met ever if he meets the 100 plate appearance requirement. So with that being said, I want to apologize to Juan Soto and the Mets organization. I would also like to take this time to shout out Pete Alonso, who is on pace for the best season of his career. I wouldn't be shocked if Alonso can hit 40 homers and 40 doubles this season. 7th in the power rankings are going to be the New York Yankees, who similarly to the Mets would also be higher on this list if they didn't have a skid in the middle of the month. Although the Yankees lost 5 out of 6 games to the Boston Red Sox, does it matter? They're a lock for the playoffs. The only question left is will they win their division? I know the Rays and Blue Jays are surging, but I truly do believe the talent on this Yankee roster is just too much to overcome. Aside from Max Fried being a Cy Young caliber pitcher, Carlos Rodon is finally having his best season as a Yankee. Offensively, I could talk about Aaron Judge for 10 minutes straight, but instead, let me highlight Paul Goldschmidt. As we all know, Goldschmidt will turn 38 years old soon, but nobody tell him because he's been raking this season. Goldschmidt has a legitimate chance to be an all-star this season, hitting 286 with an OPS plus of 117. Or what about Cody Bellinger, who, by the way, is hitting 355 with an OPS nearing 1,000 against lefties. So you better think twice before putting in a lefty against the Yankees. 8th on this list are the Houston Astros. This is another team where I could pick one player and rave about them forever. And for the Astros, that's Hunter Brown. But we'll talk about Brown a little bit later. What makes this Houston Astros team so special is the fact that offensively, they don't have one guy they know is going to deliver. I highlight this because they're currently in first place of the AL West ahead of the Mariners, who solely rely on one guy to be their offense. Sure, Jeremy Pena and Isaac Paredes have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting offensively, but don't discount what rookie Cam Smith has been doing. Smith is comfortably the 3rd best hitter on the Stros right now and has a solid OPS of 773 with 20 extra base hits so far in his rookie season. After trading Kyle Tucker, moving Altuve to left field, and having Yordan Alvarez hurt for most of the season, it feels like the Astros are kind of succeeding solely on the power of friendship. Now, obviously I'm joking, but still, the Astros have been a pleasant surprise. 9th on the power rankings are going to have to be the Tampa Bay Rays. Here at 9th, I really struggled with whether or not I should put the Rays or Blue Jays, but after seeing the Rays have the best offense in baseball for the month, and the fact they're more likely to be in first place of the division at the end of July, I'm gonna have to go ahead and take the Rays. Like I said earlier, the Rays have had the best offense in baseball for the last month, but it's not as random as you might think. Jonathan Aranda has been one of the best players on the planet, hitting .331 this season with an OPS approaching 1,000. Or what about Yandy Diaz, who has a real chance to hit 30 doubles and 30 homers? I can't help but think the Rays' offensive explosion has a lot to do with the fact they're basically playing in Yankee Stadium South. But I have to give credit where credit is due. The Rays have been one of the best teams in all of baseball in June. The only question left is whether or not it will last for the next 3 months. Personally, I think it will. The only thing that'll suck is seeing playoff baseball being played in a spring training facility. Finally, 10th in the power rankings are the St. Louis Cardinals. I love the Cardinals because I honestly feel like they play baseball the most fundamental way possible. Brendan Donovan might only have 5 homers, but he already has over 20 doubles and is hitting 300. Or what about Ivan Herrera? Herrera has played a lot of DH this season, but rightfully so. He's been mashing, hitting over 320 with an OPS over 900. On the bump, things have been a bit more rocky, but still, Sonny Gray and the rest of the starting rotation have been good enough to get the job done. If the Cardinals can start off July hot, I can see them surpassing the Brewers and maybe even Chicago for the division. But that'll do it for the Uni Diamond Talk Power Rankings. Now it's time to get into the best moments of the month. For example, did anyone predict the Juan Soto trade to be the best trade in all of baseball? No, I'm not talking about the Yankees-Padres deal where the Yankees sent over Michael King, Drew Thorpe, and more prospects for Soto. I'm talking about the Nationals and Padres deal that sent Soto to San Diego in exchange for James Wood, CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, and Robert Hassell. In case you haven't been keeping up with baseball, Abrams has developed into an all-star caliber shortstop. Mackenzie Gore is a legitimate ace who could win a Cy Young in the future. And Robert Hassell is sitting in AAA just waiting to get called up. Oh yeah, and James Wood, he's become one of the best players in all of baseball. Not only is he a phenomenal outfielder, he's one of the best hitters in the game too. Currently, Wood has 22 home runs, 20 doubles, and 64 RBIs, all while hitting .278 with an OPS over 900. Oh yeah, he also hit this walk-off home run to beat the best team in the National League. I know it would have been insane to say this 3 years ago, but the Nationals definitely won this trade. Another breakout I want to talk about is Hunter Brown. Brown started off the season hot, but after a small injury would hit the IL. However, since coming back, he's been as dominant as ever. Brown currently leads Major League Baseball in ERA with a 1.74 line through nearly 100 innings pitched. This isn't just great for the Astros right now, this is great for them in the future. Brown is only 26 years old, meaning he isn't even in his prime yet. Combine Hunter Brown with Cam Smith, Isaac Paredes, and Jeremy Pena, and the Houston Astros dynasty might not be over just yet. Now, let's stay in the AL, but hop over to the East, where the New York Yankees lost not once, not twice, not 3 times, or even 4 times, but lost 5 games to the Boston Red Sox. This came after Jazz Chisholm posted on Twitter saying, "Free smoke at 7," which implied he'd have smoke for the Red Sox during their game. However, it's safe to say that didn't work out. What's more shocking than the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees is the fact they traded Rafael Devers. But what's even more insane than that is the drama that ensued afterwards. Devers would say he'd play first base and do post-game interviews despite refusing to do both in Boston. And apparently, Craig Breslow is a robot. No, seriously. Apparently, the Red Sox were using AI in job interviews, and Breslow was firing people who disagreed with him. What a complete mess over in Boston. And if you want a whole video going into detail about Craig Breslow and the Red Sox dysfunction, then let me know. But moving on, what about the Mets' young players? I know they're in first place, and I know their highest paid player is on pace for the best month in franchise history, but it's worth keeping an eye on Francisco Alvarez and Luis Angel Acuna to see when they're recalled from AAA. Speaking of returning, how about Ronald Acuna? Since coming off the IL in May, Acuna has been one of the best players in Major League Baseball. In just 32 games, Acuna has already already accumulated over 2B WAR and is hitting 366 with 9 tanks. This guy tore his ACL, hadn't played organized baseball in a year, and came back being the best player in the National League. If Ronald Acuna isn't different, then I don't know who is. But here's my personal favorite story of the entire month. After being demoted to the bullpen, Aaron Civale demanded a trade from the Brewers. This shocked people because honestly, demanding trades isn't common in baseball, especially for a guy who had a 4.91 ERA in Milwaukee. However, the Brewers retaliated by sending him to the Chicago White Sox. Not only are the White Sox the worst team in the American League, they were also voted as the worst organization in baseball by players. I do feel bad for Civale, but that is hilarious. On a more serious note, my least favorite story from this month has to be how the Atlanta Braves treated Craig Kimbrel. In case you just started watching baseball, Kimbrel is one of the best Atlanta Braves of the early 2010s. Kimbrel pitched the first 5 seasons of his career in Atlanta, winning Rookie of the Year, being selected to the All-Star Game 4 seasons in a row, finishing top 10 in Cy Young voting 4 times, and finishing top 5 twice. He even got MVP votes in 2011. As a Brave, Kimbrel also led the NL in saves 4 seasons in a row while racking up 186 total saves with them. This guy is the best closer in Braves history. So when the Braves signed him to a minor league deal, then called him up after a dozen or so appearances, it felt like a reunion. But after pitching 1 scoreless inning, he was DFA'd a day later. Now I know under the hood stats aren't good, but come on, just 1 inning? That just made me upset. Kind of like how I would be upset if I was a Cincinnati Reds fan. The first season your young core of players is finally starting to win, the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals all have to be competitive too. But seriously, Elly De La Cruz has finally developed into the franchise shortstop we all knew he was capable of being. And if I were the Reds, I would try and sign him to one of those Atlanta Braves style deals that lock him up a few years after arbitration. I say this because I doubt a franchise like the Reds will want to pay Elly the hundreds of millions of dollars he's going to demand in free agency. On a more positive note for Reds fans, since June 3rd, they are 14-7 and are playing excellent baseball. If they can keep this up, they could easily steal an NL wildcard spot. Hopping just 1 state over to Pennsylvania, I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Pirates, more specifically O'Neal Cruz. On paper, Cruz is the prototypical baseball player any team would want. He's tall, athletic, has a strong arm, he's fast, and can hit for huge power. I mean, seriously, this kid has the hardest hit ball in StatCast history. The only issue is he doesn't really care, or at least that's what it looks like. Cruz was even benched after not hustling on multiple groundouts and letting this ball get past him in the outfield. Oh yeah, he didn't even chase after it at all. Hopefully this can turn around soon because we have seen extremely special flashes of what he's capable of, but so far in his career, he hasn't put all of it together. Sticking in the NL Central, I want to talk about Christian Yelich. Yelich was a little slow to start the season, but since May 21st, he's hitting 370 with an OPS over 1,000. He's got 8 tanks for 33 RBIs. That's over an RBI per game. Yelich is really starting to turn back the clock. But as for the Brewers, I know they have one of the best records in their division, but I just don't buy the hype. Maybe I'm wrong though. If you're a Brewers fan, let me know what you think in the comments. Enough with the National League for a second. I want to talk about the Texas Rangers, also known as the 2023 World Series champions and American League pennant winners. I mentioned that because if you watch the Rangers in 2024 and 2025, you'd have no idea how this team accomplished those feats. I mean, seriously, how did this team, a team that's currently in 4th place and fighting with the A's over 5th place, win the World Series? I might be suffering from recency bias, but I genuinely think the 2023 Rangers are the flukiest champions in baseball history. Enough of hating on the Rangers though, it's time to hate on a person, specifically Wander Franco. In case you didn't hear, Franco was found guilty and was only given a 2-year suspended sentence. What this means is that he won't go to prison unless, get this, he is caught talking to a minor again. Personally, I find this ridiculous. How did a predator like him avoid prison time altogether? But if you want to hear about the entirety of this situation, we also have a deep dive on that as well on the channel. On a more positive note, have you heard that Shohei Ohtani is pitching again? That's right, the triple-digit tossing righty is back on the bump and has already thrown a few one-inning rehab starts. His stuff still looks amazing, but his location patience seems rusty from not throwing a baseball in a game for over a year. Hopefully, Shohei's pitch count can build back up to normal by the end of July. Now, I want to hop back over to the AL and talk about two players specifically, Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. First off, I think we all know about Aaron Judge. He's possibly the best right-handed hitter of all time, and he's currently leading the American League in about every stat except one: home runs. Instead, the Big Dumper leads the AL in homers. In case you haven't heard, Cal Raleigh, aka the Big Dumper, is a switch-hitting catcher from the Mariners who's currently on pace to shatter about every catcher hitting record in Major League Baseball history. I mean, seriously, if he keeps hitting home runs at the pace he's on, he's going to shatter the record for most home runs in a season. Not the American League home run record set by Aaron Judge a few years prior. I'm talking about the Major League Baseball home run record set by Barry Bonds. I just want to take this time to highlight and appreciate just how special of players we are watching right now. I didn't think anybody would challenge Aaron Judge for the AL MVP this season. And although I do think Judge will win the award, still despite not having as many home runs, I do think Cal Raleigh is giving him a real fight. Over to the National League, I want to talk about the Giants just real quickly to acknowledge some underrated and underappreciated players. I know we've mentioned the offense a ton already, but I want to talk about their bullpen. Randy Rodriguez and Eric Miller both have ERAs under 1 with more than 27 innings pitched. That also goes without mentioning Tyler Rogers, who leads the NL in appearances with 40 and also has a 1.64 ERA with nearly 40 innings pitched. Combined, these three pitchers have 4.6 WAR. So with that being said, I think every team wishes they could have the Giants bullpen. Staying in the NL West, I want to take a look at the little fight the Dodgers and Padres had against one another. It all started with Andy Pages getting hit by a pitch thrown inside by Dylan Cease. Personally, I think Cease was just pitching inside and it wasn't intentional. But I guess the Dodgers felt differently. The next game, Randy Vasquez hit Ohtani in the leg with a fastball, which then prompted the Dodgers to hit Fernando Tatis Jr. Both teams would get warnings, but things got insane the next game. In game 3, the Dodgers hit Tatis again. Personally, I don't think this is intentional either, since the pitcher Jack Little was making his first ever MLB appearance and was probably just nervous. But I guess the Padres disagreed as well. In the 9th inning, up 3 runs, Robert Suarez threw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball at Shohei Ohtani's neck, which thankfully hit Ohtani's back after he got out of the way. This caused benches to clear, and to be honest, I'm here for it. It feels like recently the Padres-Dodgers rivalry has been the most heated in all of baseball. So whenever they're playing one another, make sure to keep an eye on both pitchers. Speaking of keeping an eye on both pitchers, Paul Skeens and Brewers rookie Jacob Misiorowski pitched against one another in June. While Misiorowski lived up to the hype, Skeens did struggle, allowing 4 earned runs. But honestly, who cares? His ERA is still 2.12. But more on Jacob Misiorowski a little later. I just wanted to take a quick second to acknowledge the Baltimore Orioles, who still are one of the worst teams in the American League. Don't get me wrong, but they did have a solid month of June. Since May 30th, the Orioles are 16-10, which is pretty solid for a team that fired their manager a few months into the season. Before I talk about something non-MLB related, I just want to check up on the Colorado Rockies really quick. As of the end of June, the Rockies will not have 20 wins. What this means is that they are still on pace to finish as the worst team in Major League Baseball history. The 2025 Rockies are making the 2024 White Sox look like World Series contenders. Before I go into the rookie recap, I wanted to talk about the 2025 NCAA champions, the LSU Tigers. Not only did they dominate Coastal Carolina in 2 games, they snapped their record-breaking win streak. Jared Jones, no, not the Pirates pitcher, Jared Jones, the LSU first baseman, is currently projected to be a first-round pick and could be an MLB rookie sooner rather than later. But speaking of rookies, it's time to talk about the rookie recap. June has been an excellent month for rookies, specifically rookie pitchers. Not only did we get to see Chase Burns, who tossed triple digits against the Yankees in his debut, we also got to see Jacob Misiorowski. In my personal opinion, I haven't seen a more can't-miss prospect than Jacob Misiorowski. And honestly, I think the only thing holding him back from becoming a Hall of Famer is injuries. Let me put things into perspective. Misiorowski is 23 years old, can throw 103 93 miles an hour and has a 97-mile-an-hour slider. That by itself, without mentioning his other pitches, is enough to blow you away. Not only did he outduel Paul Skeens, he also had a no-hitter going into the 5th and 6th innings of the first 2 starts of his career. In fact, he now holds the record for most consecutive no-hit innings to start an MLB career. Now that we've talked about the National League's flamethrowers, let's talk about the American League. Over in the AL, the Sacramento A's have done the unthinkable. They've produced one of, if not the best defensive prospects we've ever seen. I mean, seriously, if you've never seen Denzel Clark's center field highlights, please go do yourself a favor and check them out. This guy has played a 5th of the games any other center fielder in the top 5 of outs above average has. Yet, he's still in 2nd place, tied with PCA. We're talking about a player who could put up generational defensive numbers. Also, how about Jacob Wilson? I feel like every time I watch a Jacob Wilson at bat, it's the most professional veteran approach I've ever seen. Wilson is currently hitting over 340 with 24 extra base hits. In my opinion, it's going to either be him or Boston Red Sox rookie who wins the award. I say that because they've got like a million of them. They've got Roman Anthony, Carlos Narvaez, Marcelo Meyer, and of course Christian Campbell, who they recently sent down to AAA in order to learn first base. Before I move on from the Red Sox, I just wanted to say, I know the #1 prospect Roman Anthony has been slow to start his career, but just look at his baseball savant page. He's due to break out anytime soon. Also, props to Jack Caglione, who I know has been ice cold recently, but similarly to Roman Anthony, hit his first homer in June. As of right now, Jacob Wilson and Jacob Misiorowski are both heavy favorites to an AL and NL Rookie of the Year. Though I will admit, Atlanta Braves rookie catcher Drake Baldwin has been electric, and if he can find another level, he might be able to challenge Misiorowski for the NL award. But that's enough rookie talk. It's time to go over to the injury ward and talk about who's going on the IL and who's coming back to your favorite team. Now, I've got to be honest, June was a complete war of attrition for the entire Major League Baseball, especially for the Diamondbacks. First off, Corbin Carroll fractured his hand, Corbin Burns needs Tommy John, and Josh Naylor, Jordan Lawler, Gabriel Moreno, AJ Puck, and Justin Martinez are all either on the IL or out for the season. Miraculously though, they're still at 500. Their NL West rival Dodgers aren't faring much better, as rookie star Roki Sasaki has also had to undergo Tommy John surgery. In addition, Tony Gonsolin, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Michael Kopech are also on the IL. Basically, what I'm saying is the Diamondbacks and Dodgers collectively have hundreds of millions of dollars on the injured list. A few other players who are going to be in need of Tommy John surgery are Tigers rookie Jackson Jobe and the Braves AJ Smith-Shover. Also, I quickly want to mention Angels manager Ron Washington, who recently left the team due to health reasons, but for some reason was caught the next day in the stands eating a hot dog. But seriously, we have no idea what's going on with him, and I do hope everything turns out well for him. Over in the AL East, the Yankees got back Giancarlo Stanton from the IL, however, did lose Luke Weaver and Ryan Yarbrough. The Yankees bullpen is starting to look a little bit thin, if you ask me. Sticking in the AL East, the Red Sox have officially said Alex Bregman will be back after the All-Star break, and that Cutter Crawford will be out for the season with a wrist injury. Staying in the AL, the Twins' Royce Lewis is still struggling with hamstring injuries, which sucks because when he's healthy, he's one of the most exciting players to watch in the entire Major League. That also goes for Chris Sale, who's now on the IL after breaking his ribs on what fans speculate is this play, where he dives out to snag this ground ball. Hopefully, the reigning NL Cy Young winner is back sooner rather than later. And you want to know a fun fact? Adley Rutschman has never been on the IL in his entire career. That is until now, as he was placed on the IL with oblique issues. Also, have you seen Bryce Harper lately? I know he's in his early 30s, but he looks like a 50-year-old union construction worker. I mention him because he was placed on the IL at the beginning of June with a wrist issue. However, he just announced he'll be back in July. Finally, Mets ace Kodai Senga was placed on the 15-day IL after suffering hamstring injuries, but should be back in July. That's enough injuries for this month. How about suspensions? Did you see Dennis Santana trying to fight a fan during a bullpen session? I'll be honest, I have no idea what the fans said, but Major League Baseball ended up suspending Santana for 4 games for the incident. But now that that's all done, it's time for every baseball fan's favorite time of year. July is personally my favorite month of the entire season, and I think everybody knows why. It has the All-Star Game, the Home Run Derby, the Major League Baseball's draft, but more importantly, the trade deadline. Recently, ESPN's Jeff Passan released a top 50 trade deadline target list, and honestly, the names are gonna shock you, especially if you are a Red Sox fan. At number 1 and 2 are both Alex Bregman and Jarren Duran. Now, the rationale is that the Red Sox already sold Rafi Devers, and they're barely ahead of the Orioles for last place in the division. So why not just sell more? While I understand that perspective, I think the Red Sox will be forced to keep Bregman and attempt to extend him by any means possible, since he does have an opt-out after this season. Another interesting name I saw was Freddie Peralta, and if you're a Brewers fan, I understand why you'd be mad. You're finally making a push for the division. Christian Yelich is on fire. This team is finally coming together. Why trade one of your better starters? Well, if you have to remember something, the Brewers did this exact same thing with Josh Hader a few years ago. Plus, all Peralta has left on his contract is a team option for next season. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. Personally, I do think this will be an extremely active trade deadline. I think a lot of things have changed from a month ago, especially over in the National League. It felt like at the end of May, the only NL wildcard teams would be from the West. After all, the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and Diamondbacks are all phenomenal teams. However, the Cardinals, Cubs, Reds, and Brewers all had great months. I think there's a chance teams are going to have to overpay a lot more for players, since the deadline is likely to be a buying market. Even the Boston Red Sox, who have the 2 most likeliest players to be traded, are at 500 and still can kind of make a run at the AL wildcard. This MLB season is about to truly heat up, and honestly, I think we could have a special season on our hands, especially if the big dumper keeps hitting the ball like he is. Now, that'll do it for our 3rd monthly recap of the season, and I hope to help fill you in about the past month of baseball. If you disagree with some of my power rankings, let me know why. And if you think I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. Besides for that, please don't forget to subscribe for more hard-hitting baseball analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.